Okay, hey y'all, I'm Chris and I'm back again with another episode of Breaking the Ceiling. And today I have the utmost honor to be speaking with the GOAT. And when I tell y'all, she's the GOAT in the accounting and tax industry, the one and the only Yvette the best. Y'all, Yvette is one of the few professionals in this space that has worked in and excelled in all the disciplines in accounting and tax. So she's mastered accounting, built a firm, built a six-figure firm. She's mastered tax strategy and she's mastered tax representation. She's built a seven-figure firm in less than 24 months. And that's not all. She is the author of not one, not two, you're not even free, four best-selling books that help small business owners. So this is the best possible representation of the industry that we could bring to the table. Yvette, tell us a little bit about you. Why accounting and tax?
Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to be here. I am 100% honored. I mean, you did a very great job with that introduction. So I'm not sure what is left, except that the fact that, well, everyone who knows me knows I love taxation. I love helping people grow their business. More importantly than always just saving on taxes. I just think saving on taxes is just a function of being a tax strategist. But sometimes things that you can save on taxes may not help you in your business as far as, getting funding, credit, and scaling the business. So sometimes I feel like my love of helping businesses grow irregardless of the tax savings is where my expertise lies. Because sometimes they may say, well, Yvette, I'm not going to get this deduction if I do this. But if you grow the business to here, you can do that. And sometimes you just have to explain to the business owner they're going to be able to do that. And it makes sense to them. When you explain it, it can make sense. And then they can see where everything is not just an immediate thing, it's a long-term thing because you're in business long-term. I'm hoping that people are not in business short-term.
Ooh, I just love that, right? It is that intersection between I want tax savings, yes, but I want a healthy business that I can grow and scale so that I can now leverage that business to build lasting wealth. And very few tax professionals combine the two. So, as a tax professional, most people are either I'm a tax strategist and I talk about saving you on taxes, or I'm in the accounting space and I talk about accounting and bookkeeping. Very few people marry the two, and I think that where the intersection of the two is where the true benefit lies for the small business owner. Okay, so tell me your books. You are the author of four best-selling finance books, right? How did you decide to actually first start writing books? And then your first book was mastering your, I think getting the maximum out of your tax refund,
Maximizing your tax refund.
maximizing your tax
Yes.
refund, right? So why that topic?
Okay, so I learned during my MBA program, and I went to get my MBA 2014-15. During that MBA program, I was writing a lot. And then I learned that I did love to write. So I was like, well, what can I do with this writing skill that I have? And how could I help somebody? Because that's what it was about. So the school I was going to is Belhaven University, and it is a Christian school. So I first was writing a book, it was called the Greater Evil. So it was like a comparison and contrast between what I believe is God's religions and how we all should be working together instead of using the differences between the religions to infight when we all should be concentrating on fighting against the real evil, which is Satan.
Mhm.
I do not know how did I get off of that topic. And then I think it was just that I was thinking like, wow, my industry, I'm in taxation. During the summer, I get a lot of people coming to the office with these what I call the magic white letter from the IRS. and they had used TurboTax to do their taxes. So I said, well, maybe if I write this book and have them know what makes their refund get smaller, what are they doing that's not right. And I literally took somebody's return and went through the TurboTax system. And then I was looking like, this thing is not just all the DIY that it makes it out to be, because a lot of people don't read. So they're putting stuff in here, and this is the reason why they're making these mistakes. So I wrote the book with the intent that it would help them do better doing their taxes while they're using this system. But then it kind of like had an opposite effect. I wrote the book. I mean, I was selling the book on Amazon, but it was a lot of places and spaces I was giving this book away for free because I wanted them to have the knowledge. I had a book, a school out in Canada buy the book because they wanted it to use it for US taxation. They were teaching in a class. But I mean, for the main part, I was literally giving the book away for free because I just wanted to get the information out there. And it just literally just took leaps and bounds. Then when I went to write the second book, I just said, hey, okay, I helped individual taxpayers. Now I'm going to help business owners. So I wrote a book called Mastering Your Small Taxes to help them. But then we had someone come to the office to tell me that they had spent like $1,500 setting up an LLC. I was flabbergasted because I was like, huh? Fit? So I wrote a book called The Benefits of Becoming an LLC. And literally, it was a guide to walk anyone who lived in the state of Georgia how to set up their LLC, get their EIN, and all of those things. Because I was like, there's no way possible you're going to tell me LLC, which costs $100 in the state of Georgia, you're paying somebody $1,500 to set it up.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Then the last one was Owe the IRS, which is just a book telling you all your options when you owe, what you should be doing. Like I always say, people always laugh when I say, oh, well, the main thing you want to do is when you get a letter from the IRS is open the damn letter. And they're like, well, Dad, why you got to say it like that? Because y'all be coming to the office with a stack of envelopes this thick and be like, oh yeah, what did they say? I don't know. They never opened them. So the first thing I say is open the damn letter, read it, look at it. If you don't understand, if it's Greek to you, then talk to the person who did your return. If they're not going to help you, then exercise your taxpayer bill of rights. Number 9, the right to representation. Insert Yvette, and then you get representation, and then really be able to talk to, well, not you. I will talk to the IRS officials for you, because really, in reality, 9 out of 10, when you get your taxes done, except if they're my clients and your clients, they don't know what's on their tax return. So
they don't.
Even if they did know line for line what was on their tax return, they're not the one who prepared it, so they're not the ones just to be talking.
And so how did writing these books impact your business? Because you've done something that is kind of like the unicorn in the accounting and tax space. You built a 7-figure business in less than 24 months?
Yes.
So how did those books play a role in helping you to do that?
And these books that I wrote were before that. When I wrote these books, I still was a full-time employee. I just operated in a space that this place where I was, like most people who knew me did not even know I had a job. I was like, no, I'm a controller for a company, $20 million budget. They're like, huh? I thought you have a tax firm. Yeah, I do. But I also work. So the way I was operating was in that time. At that time, I moved here to Georgia in 2011. I had a house in New Jersey, and I bought a new house here in 2012. This time it was me and about 4 of my girlfriends. We got together and we were working on what was called 50 and free. We were going to turn 50. We wanted to have all our debts paid off, and this is what we were moving to. For me, it was non-negotiable for me to leave my job and go full-time doing taxes if I had a mortgage. So all of those things worked together because I was writing the books. I was using the revenue from the books, the revenue from taxes, my job, and paying off this house, which we did within 5 years. So I bought the house in 12, I paid it off in 17. I went full-time in my business in 18. The books were, being sold on Amazon. Three of them were online books. One was a hard copy. Like I said, this Maximizing Your Tax Refund is a book that I give away. I literally use it as a business card. I leave it with people. I educate youth with the book, all type of things with that book. So most people, even to this today, I just had a call with someone today. This is 2024. He said, well, I had this other person and I remembered you because someone gave me a copy of your book and I always kept the book and I meant to call you all this time. And the person he had is actually really, she's about to pass away, unfortunately. And he was just like, it was that I was with this woman, and I understand finances is an intimate thing. And when you get one accountant, you try your best not to leave that person because you get a relationship with them. So that as soon as this happened with this young lady, I was the first person he called. And again, he got this book. The person he got the book from was in 2012.
That was
So
like 12 years ago.
2024, you had this
12
book this
years
whole
ago.
time.
Mm-hmm.
This whole time you had the book. You remembered me. And when this happened with this young lady, the first thing you did was pick up the book, look at the back, Google my name, got my address, and called me on the phone and said, hey, Yvette, this is what's going on. And he's like, I need to be able to have my personal S Corp and personal returns due. And I have about another 50 something clients that I need to move over to your firm.
Yeah.
Yes. So that is what the book did. But that whole time when I wrote the book, the first one, the second one, the third one, and the fourth one, I still was a full-time employee. The 24 months is just recent. Like I literally last year, I'm part of the Founders Mastermind by Mike Rosberg. Everybody knows that Mike. That's I always say he's Uncle Mike. It was last year when I first revealed, because they asked about your why a lot. And I revealed that, I said, I'm the first person in my family to become a millionaire, but I don't want to be the last person. And I literally broke down and started crying because it was the first time I literally had said it outside of the family.
You see
So,
that right there? That right there is what has me doing these interviews right now. We come from backgrounds where we are not expected to succeed. We were born, and from the time we were born, it's been said to us that this is where you are, and there's a ceiling to where you can go, right? Being able to break through that ceiling and go on to build wealth, lasting wealth, wealth that you never thought that you'd be able to have access to. You can now give your kids a better life, right? And for me, it's being able to do that for other women, help other women to do that. Okay, so you became the first millionaire in your family, and you do not want to be the last millionaire in your family. Let's talk about a couple things. What are some things that you did to ensure that you got to the 7 figures? And going forward, what are some things that you're going to put in place to ensure that you continue growing?
well, the main thing is because I didn't have a mortgage starting from 2017, when the money started coming in, it was easier for me to save because I didn't have a large overhead. So when I speak to people, when they're like, oh, we're making all of this money, sometimes if they're still working, I will say, hey, let's work on a goal of two things at once. You're building a business, but whatever you're debt heavy with, let's put these two things together and get them paid off. So when you go into the business, because I fully believe anybody who leaves from corporate and go and make their own business, their money is going to be limitless. So when they do that, you'll have so much more money to put away. You won't have to spend it because you have already been conditioned to live off of 75, 85, 90, $100,000 a year. And if you keep that same mindset and don't get this is when get all
caught up in the
caught
ground.
up in the, oh my God, I just had my 6-figure day. And yeah, just the whole 6 figures goes away, put it away, retirement. paying kids. Well, I always tell people, pay kids, pay your spouse. That way you can keep money in the house. That's
Okay,
it.
let's
Yeah.
unpack that.
Pay your kids,
I
pay your
got
spouse, and keep money in the house
yeah. So the
while you're getting a tax deduction. But make sure that they're doing work. So not just paying them, just make sure they're actually doing some functions within the business. But it was easier to do that. And then I started this concierge accounting program where I made a value-based program, which was priced the same as tax resolution. And at that time, I mean, other people were doing value-based accounting. This is not nothing new, but I don't think they were doing the work. Like they were doing value-based accounting, but they was tying bookkeeping and your taxes together.
Mhm,
As opposed to me, I was saying, hey, I feel your bookkeeper and accountant should be two separate people. But what I want to do is I'm going to partner with you. We're going to meet quarterly and talk about your business, go through your book, your financial statements together, because I was finding out bookkeepers were giving reports, but they wasn't going over the reports. So
exactly.
reach to the business owner. So
Mhm,
then quarterly, we're going over your books, we're reviewing the stuff. I have you underneath power of attorney. So I'm knowing if your 941s is not getting to where they need to be. If you're not seeing the things that you're supposed to see, I'm giving you course drivers in the business by looking at what you are spending your money on and giving you advice about it. So I felt that doing advisory and tax planning was greater than me doing your books. Plus, I
mhm,
just felt like internal control is I should not be holding the right and left hand of your business.
mhm,
By you having this separate bookkeeper and me as your internal control. Also, my background is forensic accounting. I can see what's going on and give you some pointers. Plus, having you under power of attorney, I'm also able to see different things and making sure stuff is working the way that it's supposed to. So from that
mhm,
value-based program, that was where that price tag was like $5,000. We were able to that first year I was able to probably convert like 100 people into that program. Now we're up to like 325 into that program. And I most of the time, I'm literally, besides doing taxes, I'm mostly talking to clients about what's going to make your business better and how we're going to make it grow. It's not even about, a lot of it is not tax savings. A lot of it is how, if they have a product idea, I have them put me under NDA and then they give me their product idea and then I give my advice about it before they go and pay $50,000 to some coach.
mhm.
And I always tell them, even when you're giving somebody your idea, you need to have them underneath NDA. Even me,
So
I'm the accountant. Put me under
So
NDA.
you there, so you basically you're the advisor, not just on the tax side, but on the business side, on the growth side, where it is important, helping them with ideas, helping them with making decisions. And that's one of the things that is not really common in the industry. And that's where a lot of business owners struggle. A lot of people come into business knowing they have the skill for what they're in, right? Their industry. However, when it comes to the finance piece of it, this is not their strong suit. And so they struggle. Many people make decisions based on emotions rather than making decisions on the data. So having you there helps them to make data driven decisions rather than emotional ones. So let's talk a little bit about making data driven decisions. Why is it so important for a business?
Yeah, well, my greatest struggle that I have, most of the business owners are new to me are
Mhm,
already in their mid 40s.
mhm,
So statistics show that African Americans usually, when they get fed up with corporate America and start their own business, they're usually at the age of 47.
mhm,
That is a very long time that they have been an employee and now they want to be an entrepreneur. I have to work through their employee mindset to move them to an entrepreneurship mindset, because a lot of times it will have them delay to make data driven decisions even when they see the numbers are good. Sometimes they will pay themselves less and then at the end of the year they have this big profit and have to pay all of these taxes and they're
mhm,
wondering why, and we're like, you still not putting money away for retirement. Why isn't you have 5 kids under the age of 17? Why are they not on payroll? Why is your spouse still working this little $30,000, $40,000 job outside of the house and he's not even putting money into the 401k? Why are you not bringing him into the business and getting him under the fold when you have had a business that you was working on while you was an employee? The business started making money. You left from corporate America and you're making, and they still was working, like still in their mind, they was still operating as an employee. I'm talking about, and this is not 100,000, 200,000. We're talking million, 2 million, three, knowing they have these numbers. And how is no way you could tell me as a $2 million business, you paying yourself $100,000?
No. And so that's the thing. Again, that word comes up a lot, mindset. It is that thing where we have a certain idea about something and it keeps us stuck in that place because we don't shift. And even when you become an employee, although it's hard because you've been conditioned as an employee, but now you're no longer that employee. You're the boss now. And decisions, you're the one making the decisions now. It's hard for people to shift their mindset from that and then move over to the employer mindset, the boss mindset, rather than being the employee. So you mentioned the paying your child, and you said that like twice, and maybe in a tax gig, we need to talk about that. So for the
Oh
people
my goodness.
listening,
I think paying your kids is the greatest hack of IRS code. I mean, whoever decided to throw that in there, they knew what they were saying. They knew what they were talking about. Because I mean, I think they could have just seen the future. Like now, these kids are on these computers and knowing how to do everything. I got a son, he's 15. He has been in the business since he was 9. First, he was shredding paper, then he was doing like little videos and creating stuff in the background. That now he can literally, like I was telling him I needed a Windows-based system. He took my Mac and converted it into a Windows-based system so I could be able to put my information that I needed and to be able to print checks in the office, but use my Mac to do so. So I was like, wow, I didn't even know that was a possible thing, and it was done. I mean, I know you have to have rules. The kids have to have actual jobs. You do not have to have them on payroll, but I personally am a fan of third-party verification. So yeah, please issue these kids payroll into your account with a W-2, so that way you have your documentation that's not done by you. I mean, because I always say it's all fun and games until you ever get an audit. Now we want to know how you was paying them, where you was paying them at, where did the money go? But usually those questions never come up when you have a W-2.
Yeah, but it's important though, the W-2, it provides the checks and balances that you
And
need.
the third
But it's
party
important though
verification.
that
Yep.
they understand that even with the W-2, you still don't have to pay any taxes. It is just for recording purposes, so that if the
Yeah.
IRS knocks on your door, you can basically say, hey, here's the proof, this is what I did. So let's go beyond the paying them, getting the tax deduction. Let's go to what I think is the real power of that tax strategy: building
Yes.
wealth for your
Building
kids.
wealth. So
Yes.
the way I see it is, if I am paying, see, now most people always, when you hear it on social media, it's, hey, now it's 2024. You can pay your kid $14,200 and they don't have to pay any taxes, except maybe state taxes.
Mhm.
But for me, I'm like, look, you only could put $7,000 a year in a Roth, so pay them
Exactly.
$7,000 and put
Mhm.
the other seven into a Roth. So when they get older, they can get the money tax free. And then
Mhm.
if they want to start a business or do other things, but really for me, I'm like, they got time. So if you start this, they're doing some type of job where they can make at least $7,000 a year,
Mhm.
and you put this in and it grows, and you start at 7 and it grows all this time until they're age 67, they can be their own millionaire on their own without any additional influx of cash from them, if you only do this between the age 7 to 17,
17, yeah.
because they got time for that compound interest. So
Mhm.
on top of that, while that money is growing, and they're living their lives and doing other things, by the time that they decide to retire, they have probably over $1 million in this account. tax-free. That's the emphasis on tax-free, because the Roth withdrawals are tax-free.
Mhm.
And I really think that that is something, how you pass that same, I was the first but not the last, to your
Mhm.
generation and next generation. Because if you do it for one child, you can do it for your grandchild. You don't have to wait until they get older and get a job. Like, that's basically not even mandatory anymore. Now, if they don't happen to work in a business and they have a day job, they can just work and put some money away. They could actually, instead of them concentrating on saving money for them, because we have saved money for them, they could concentrate on saving money for their children.
Yes. Yes. So, and I also tell some of my clients to take it one step further, because we have the Roth and we can get compound interest on the Roth. But I also tell some of my clients that you can also use the Roth to invest in real assets as well. And those
Mm-hmm.
assets
Yes,
grow tax-free as well. So it's right
exactly.
now you're building equity in assets and you get in the extra interest. And so you basically just creating this whole empire and that's still while they're still kids and they're growing up into adults. So you secure in their future, right? So for me, that is one of the most powerful strategies that anyone who owns a business can implement to ensure that, hey, not only do I get to be the millionaire, but I take my kids there as well, and with as little effort as possible.
And before we move to the next point, I wanted to mention something about the 401k.
Mhm.
I always call it the 401k lie exposed. I want people to know that when they are underpaid, so your whatever the limit is for a Roth, I mean, like single is what, 138, joint
Mhm.
is like 228. When you making less than that, this is the time you're supposed to be putting money into the Roth, because
Mhm.
the Roth has an income limit, because
Limit,
it's
yeah.
not for it's not supposed to incentivize rich people to get richer by getting tax-free money. But what happens is we be trapped. See,
Okay.
if you put money
Mindset.
into your 401k, we lower your tax liability. However, you at that smaller rate, your tax liability is not really that much. So by you putting the money away in a Roth when it's before it's your cap, you can
Mhm.
get that money back tax free.
That's free, yes.
Opposed to when you do a 401k, you have to pay taxes on that money when you withdraw it. When you pass it to the heir also has to pay taxes on it when it's withdrawn. And then most importantly of all of that, the taxes you won't have to pay when you retire. So I just want people to think about, oh, wait, and I forgot to add the source on everything. When you lower your tax liability by putting the money into your 401k, you also lower the amount of money that the Social Security calculates for your benefits when you retire. So if you're making 100,000 and you're putting $20,000 away per year when you're getting ready to retire, and they're only calculating your benefits off that 80,000.
80,000. And that's
So
something most people do not know.
and they always, this is the biggest lie ever. Two things I hear from older people when they get that first tax bill when they retire. They told me I could make as much money as I wanted to and I get my retirement and it wasn't gonna be taxable.
Mhm.
Social Security is taxable. Two, they told me when I retired, I wouldn't be paying as much tax as I did when I was working. But ma'am, you made 100,000. Your retirement package is 100,000. Do you understand why you was away? You've been on this job 35 years and saved $600,000, and you're pulling out money regularly between the pension, Social Security,
Mhm.
together. Your husband filing joint together. Y'all still at the same 150,000 y'all was when y'all was working, and
And
they
that's
are
what,
sick. They
and
are. I'm
that's,
telling you, they are sick.
yeah, and that's one of the things, and that's how they sell it to people. They tell people that when you get older, you'll be making less. But think about it. Who wants to be older with less money?
I don't know, because it's not happening. And I live in Fayetteville, Georgia. This is a very silver town. Median age here is probably 62. I mean, there's a lot of older people here. And I that's why when I first got here, that was my thing. I used to talk to groups, people who were about to retire, I used to go to Fayette Senior Center to talk about elder abuse, elder fraud, things of that nature, because there's so many older people here. And you'd be surprised. They're like, and they were doing their taxes and didn't realize the reason why they were owing was because their Social Security was taxable. They didn't even
Mhm.
know. I'm
Yeah.
like, who's doing your taxes? They didn't explain to you that any income you have over 25 or 35,000, depending on your filing status, 85% of your Social Security is going to be taxable to you. And they're like, no, they never told us that.
But that's the thing again about the being in this industry. The one of the problems that we face in this industry is that there are many people who are in this industry not to help people, but for the quick buck, right? And so you may do someone's return and you never even get to sit with that person. You never get someone to explain your tax return to you at the end of the contract, right? You did the service and hey, here's your return, sign it. But for someone who has no knowledge of taxes, when someone does your tax return, that person needs to explain to you what happened on your return so that you understand that what I am signing. Because when you sign that and you submit it to the IRS, you're responsible for everything it says.
Exactly.
And that's
Exactly.
something that I think the IRS needs to address. It's not just that like it can't be just this free for all. The IRS has to be like there has to be more rules and there has to be more enforcement rather than like there's so much enforcement of the I'm going after the people who oh and yes everybody got to pay their share of taxes and I understand that, but what about the people who are out there and they're causing all this damage to people who genuinely want to pay their taxes, who want to be compliant, but they bounce up with these people and now they're stuck and they're in trouble. What are they doing about that?
Ooh, you said a mouthful there because we definitely I like you're putting all this money into we're gonna go after these taxpayers and
Mhm.
get them to pay us. Well, can you go after these tax preparers and make
Mhm.
something? I mean, you have a credential okay, you got the annual filing season program. I understand, no, they tried to make it mandatory, but they took them to court and then they was able to overturn it. But then go back to court and get something else. Bring something to the table where it
Mhm.
changes, where you can't just anyone can just go and get a P10 and start saying they do taxes and it's fine. If and now it's a little bit more when they have to get, EFINs because they got to give it a prints, but there's people who have P10s who's working underneath people other EFINs or do something as far as the service bureau is what I feel is where
Mhm.
everybody underneath that service bureau has to be able to obtain their own EFIN,
Mhm.
regardless if they work underneath someone else's. So that way you could eliminate a lot of these people from doing fraud because if you can't obtain your own EFIN, you can't go underneath someone else's EFIN either.
Exactly. And that is a perfect segue into the next question. So I'm a taxpayer. I own a business. I'm making really great income, and I am looking for a to put a team together. Who do I need on my team? How do I vet that team to make sure that the people that I am getting are not just competent but reputable people? What do I look for?
Ooh, you better have first and foremost, you better have a background check. Cause these people, you need to be background checking them. I try to learn from the mistakes of other preparers. I have had preparers who had to pay. I had preparers who had their firm stolen from them, meaning information where they couldn't even file their own clients. And pretty much it has being here in the state of Georgia has left me with the taste in my mouth that the only people who get to touch any of my taxpayers' data is me and my spouse, and that is all. No one else gets to see any of. We have secure portals, secure emails. Even we got. I just decided to outsource everything administrative so that way I would be able to control the data.
Mhm.
That is what works for me. I do know people who have teams. They got people they use that they outsource to. Now in tax resolution, I outsource stuff because they're not dealing so much with the personal information. Most of
Mhm.
the time they're filling out forms and things of that nature. However, with tax preparation, the fact that I'm dealing with not only the taxpayers' name, social, date of birth, but children's name, social, and date of birth.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm not good with anyone else touching that data besides the people who I can see my eyes, meaning me and my spouse.
Mhm.
Because what I don't want is to have, I've been in business since 2006. I have clients in 47 states in about 4 different countries. I don't want to be the one to be calling anybody to say, hey, I tried to put your return through and it got rejected. And I know it's because I had someone working in my office who stole all my clients' information and was doing credit card fraud or loan fraud or some other kind of fraud, because it's happened. And I've had people in the industry, business and out of business because of these type of things.
So how does the taxpayer the prospective client who's looking to hire someone, how do they ensure that the person that they're choosing is taking precautions with their data, is someone that they can actually trust? What do they look
Now,
for?
and that goes back to my first book, Maximizing Your Tax Refund. I
Mhm.
told people in there, I made an acronym. I told them they basically have to become their own tax agent. Basically meaning that they're supposed to always, you know, get a transcript, always making sure that they're vetting the person, looking up their background, going to BBB, looking on the IRS directory to make sure that they have credentials. I even said sometimes you might want to just Google their name and see if they have any kind of charges or mug shots on the internet, because that's all freedom of information. Literally that they never sign, like sometimes they have them come, never sign blank return, always get a copy of your return. That's a legal requirement. Just always knowing that they use e-file, that they're not mailing anything in. We've been e-filing since 1993. Nobody should be mailing in any taxes unless they just reject it because someone claimed they're dependent. Um, Basically always knowing that they can trust regardless of anything. And sometimes being able to be knowing that although we work virtually, there's a way that I'm able to still meet with you, even if that's going to be a fee. I mean, I know we have virtual firms now, and it is big and it's great because you're able to deal with people in so many different states, but at least being able to see the person, at least by Zoom, where you can be able to at least take a picture of the person that was telling you about your return, it's just so important. Especially you have to think you're turning over information about you and your children to someone, and you need to know where that information is going to go besides the tax return.
Mhm. Yeah, that I think that sums it up like really nicely, because it is something that is that type of information. That information is literally your life. And if someone gets hold of that information, there's no end to the havoc that they can cause. So knowing that the people that you're using, you can trust them with that information. That's really important.
I'll give you an example.
Mhm.
There was a young lady before they came out with this PIN system where you could get the IP PIN for
Mhm.
children. She was not able to file taxes with her kids for 10 years because when she was young, and she had multiple kids. So she had like 3, 4, 5 kids. So she was claiming her 3 kids, and the 2 kids, she was giving it to other people. So finally, she started making money. And then when she tried to claim her 2 other kids, she could never, because she didn't know whoever she gave them to,
She had
they
no
would
idea
just
who it
kept using
was.
them.
Mhm.
So every year she would have to file with her 3 kids, then turn around and file with the 2 and mail it in, mail it in, mail it in. Eventually, I mean, literally, it was about a good 7, 8 year span of her continually having to do this before, because remember the IRS is slow, before they probably sent out the notice to say, hey, why you keep claiming these kids? It took that long. It was literally almost 10 years. And now, even now in 2024, those kids have an IP pin.
The things that we do when we are young.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's talk about you creating that seven-figure firm. You have a family, you have a spouse who works in your business with you, and that's a plus. But we all know that in creating a business, there is always some disconnect with the responsibility to the business and the responsibility to the family. And that's for most people. So how have you navigated that? And what what steps have you taken to ensure that your business responsibility doesn't overshadow your responsibility to your family? Basically, how have you found ways to harmonize the two?
Well, part of it was bringing my spouse into the business because in the beginning, now I've been a tax practitioner since 1989, since I've been out of high school. Literally early, like all these years up until literally up until probably around 2018. So we thinking 89 to 2018, it was I was working, I had this business, I may have been in and out of school during that time. And literally, like them first 4 months of the year, I was a ghost of Yvette.
Mm-hmm.
Then when I said, okay, when I go full time into this business, this is not what I'm going to do. So when I started disappearing in tax season, tax professionals was thrown off because they were like, "How's he been going on? What you mean she on vacation? How's she on vacation? It's tax time." But they didn't know I had built all the systems in place to do this. I had a calendar system. If I wanted to be off, I just blocked the calendar. I was very transparent with the clients about I'm going on vacation that I'll be back. You can go and then I will put deadlines. If I don't have your personal stuff by February 15th, you're going on extension. If I don't have it by your business stuff by the 28th, you're going on extension. And stayed hard with those deadlines because your procrastination is not going to impede on me going away. So if I want to go away in the summer and I say I'm going to be off the whole summer, I'm gonna block the calendar the whole summer and let the chips fall where they may. Now, can clients still get in touch with me? Of course, because during June, I'm doing reviews.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm doing those reviews, it's a whole separate calendar just for them. And I'm only doing these reviews between 8 and 10 in the morning. I may be on vacation in a whole nother state, country, but I got great Wi-Fi and I'm up early. I'm an early riser. I'm up 5, 4:30, 5 o'clock every morning. They could talk to me between 8 and 10. My family is not even up yet. They're still running, sleeping, probably mostly on vacation, and I could go forth with my day. So this is how I make the work-life balance. But the main part was to get my spouse in line to come into the business because he did not want to be, he helped me. I never would have made it this far and built that firm without his help. But he was great with being in the background.
Mm-hmm.
In the background, he did not want to come and be the face in the company too. Like you would, it's not like, oh, I'm gonna talk to you. You're gonna talk to my husband. You guys gonna do your taxes. No, we both are doing taxes, so that helped a lot. Then now my son is now 15. He'll be 16 in December. He's coming into the business, so he'll be doing taxes next year. So I just really took the time to put the systems in place when I was an employee. And then when I went full time, I realized the systems I put in place that I was literally at that time when I came in full time, it was I was really like, I had a team. I literally had a team of like 10 people. And then I realized this person they here in Florida, they here. And I was like, I can't control what they're doing. And now I'm up even longer at night reviewing their returns because it's my responsibility to review all of these returns. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I want to work on what I work on, what I know what my workmanship is. So I just said, okay, I'll get rid of the team. Now what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna get rid of all this admin stuff because I realize I love the work. I've always been a doer. I mean, it's not a problem in working to do the tax returns. It's something I love. It's not a problem for me. So, but what is a problem? I don't like answering these phones.
Mm-hmm.
I only like doing new client talks. And then when I get off the phone with them, I'm not even emailing them. I have a young lady who does the email, puts them in the portal, and follows up with them to make sure that they send in their documents. She doesn't even have access to the portal. She just has access to an email to say, hey, did you get access to the portal? Okay, did you receive the email with the documents that you need? Okay, and that's her job. So
Okay,
all the
so
admin is out.
basically, what I'm hearing is delegation and integration and systems. So you put the systems in place to make sure that you had a foundation that the business could run, whether you were there or not. Then you delegated the task so that you had other people who were doing the things that you did not love. and then you integrated your family into the business. So business time, work time becomes family time. Now that is genius. That is genius.
Yes. I mean, and no, when people say, well, Yvette, how did you come up with that? And I was like, I just, it's not, no one did not teach me. I just wanted what would work with for me. I know that I'm just overthinking, overanalyzing type of person. And when people kept saying, well, Yvette, you know how many people want to be underneath you and work on it? Yeah, but now I got to watch what I'm going to get away from what I love. I'm not going to be able to do returns. All I'm going to be doing is riding around, which I was like, oh, now I see it. I'll be flying around from state to state to state doing compliance checks on these different franchises, businesses, and I ain't going to be able, I'm really not going to be helping anybody. And that's not what I wanted to do. So I just said, well, how can I do what I love, get paid, become a million? So that's how I came up with this whole concierge accounting program. Oh, I'm gonna do all the advisory. I'm gonna talk to you. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna make sure that you underneath power return. I'm gonna make sure your taxes is being done on time, or putting on this, and work with you during the year and grow the business. There's no businesses that's not in the concierge program that's not growing because I'm helping you and coaching you, and then they're able to throw stuff on me. So if they thinking about this new business idea, I'm underneath their business's NDA, so they can give me and tell me what they might want to do, and I can say it to them like, hey, I don't think that would work. Well, why are you going all the way over here in left field doing this? Why you can't create something within your business? Because I'm not opposed to multiple streams of income. I am opposed to the tax professional who's the real estate agent, who's doing insurance, who's also being a mortgage broker, selling waist trainers, fish dinners on Saturday, Sunday. Because the thing about it is, each one of these components come with continuing education. I'm doing 100 hours or more a year. 100 hours is the minimum. So if I'm doing 100 hours, how you putting 100 hours into taxes, 100 hours into real estate, 100 hours to being a mortgage broker, 100 hours into being a mortgage originator, 100 hours into being a real estate agent? Not to say, because it's 24 hours in a day, but that seems like a lot of mental tasking, and I'm seeing something going to fall through the cracks. And then you're a mother, and maybe a single mom with multiple kids. How's that working?
So basically, it's like being that voice that guides them through
Yes. And you know I'm a big
going,
component
preventing
of
them from making the wrong decisions and giving them the help that they need with the wealth creation and the taxes as well. That's like I said, it's the intersection where the CFO and the tax advisory come together to really create that product that they really need. So tell everyone who's listening, if they need to find you, how do they find you?
Well, my moniker is Yvette Knows Best. That's my service trademark. So it's Yvette Knows Best on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and if you on Facebook, then it's Yvette D Best, my name. Also on LinkedIn, it's Yvette D Best. They can find me there underneath those two things. But if they type in Yvette Knows Best, mostly all of my stuff will come up, because once I got the service trademark for it, I started changing everything to try to make it streamlined. But the one thing I wanted to add was that I'm a very big advocate of traveling as an entrepreneur. And that's the only thing I want people to carry with them from being an employee. You know how they had vacation when they was an employee, and then for some reason they become an entrepreneur, and then they just work, 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 and then I unbelieve all the Bible concept, like if you don't work, you don't eat. Well, you working. You need to put in vacation just like you did when you was an employee. That's the only thing I want you to take from being an employee, that you deserve to go on vacation too.
Yes, you do. And that thing you said about the biblical principle about if you don't work, you don't eat. The thing about if you don't work, you don't eat, that most people don't get. When you talk about work, we're not talking about I'm in my business working 24/7. We're talking about walking in the purpose that God created for you. If you're walking in that purpose that God created for you, that's all you really need to do. You're walking in there and you're putting in the time that needs, but it doesn't mean that you have to be physically working 24/7. You have to take time to replenish you, right? Because if you're working all the time, you are going to eventually become empty because you have business responsibilities, you have kids, you have spouse, maybe you have family. and you're one person. You're given to all of these different these different responsibilities. So it means that I work, but I also play, because play means I replenish myself mentally so that I can now go forth and give more to the people that I have a responsibility to. That's it.
Ooh, I have nothing to add to that. That was everything. Yes. Because I know that was one of the things, because when people watch me and my business and they see me traveling and going different places, sometimes they like, I had someone literally tell me, Yvette, you can't travel all the time and have a successful business. And I laughed. I laughed so hard. I think they might have thought I was a little crazy. I was like, girl, you got to be kidding me. I said, I built this. I said, this not new. I built the life that I wanted to have. I remember when I first moved here, I said I was going to create a whole life in Fayetteville, Georgia, that I would not have to leave here if I didn't want to. My office is 1 mile away from my house. And the place where I go do most of my shopping is like 2 miles away. I don't even have to, I could literally walk to anywhere I want to in Fayetteville that I want to go to. And
You
I
created the
said
life
this
that
was
you
something I
wanted.
put into practice in 2011. It only took me from 11 to 18 to make it happen. And then when I went full time in my business, I mean, excuse my language, I said, I'll be damned if I be in my business and be stressed out like I was as an employee. It's not going to happen. Whatever is
Okay.
not fun, profitable and fun. That's my two things. If it's not
Oh,
profitable
I love
and
that.
fun,
I
I
love
ain't
that.
doing it.
And
Let me emphasis on I ain't doing it. That's it. It got to be profitable and fun.
we're gonna stop right there because there is no more. You just put the exclamation mark on that and drop the mic. There's nothing else to add to this. It has to be profitable and it has to be fun. That's it. So Yvette, I want to say thank you. Thank you, thank you, because you dropped some gems here today that I know that the people who listen to this are going to be able to implement into their businesses and implement into their lives and make a change, a positive change. And so I thank you for that. And I look forward to us collaborating on some other things in the near future.
I do too. Thank you so much. And again, thank you for this opportunity. I'm honored. And God bless you.
Okay, see you. Bye.
Bye.